42M fell out of love with 36F. Small kids, what's next? My husband and I have been married for almost 10 years. Together for 15. We have 2 small children. This June he took a work trip overseas and came back different. He complained about the house, when it really was clean, and just seemed overall unhappy. I have never snooped on his phone, but it was plugged in charging, and July 1st I saw him texting a woman. Let's name her Marie. She was sending heart emojis to the things he'd been sending her. I stayed quiet and didn't say anything, and July 4th I saw him texting her again. On my birthday, I asked him for the truth. What was going on? He let me know he had been unhappy in our marriage for some years. We agreed to work on ourselves. I thought things were going better. We started doing date nights and taking time for ourselves when possible, being intimate. He went on another work trip. He came back different again. I asked him if Marie was there. She was not, but he let me know that they had been texting as friends but not relationship. She is also in an unhappy marriage. He keeps telling me that he loves me, wishes he didn't because it would be easier, but he isn't in love with me anymore. He keeps telling me that it's possible we could end up dating other people and see we love them more. I told him it's possible the same thing happens all over again, where he falls out of love. It sounds like he wants perfection. I thought we were happy enough. I think it's to do with Marie, but he keeps saying it doesn't. But then why be friends with her? He did tell me if they were both single, he would consider dating her, which proves my point. I wrote down 2 options: work on our marriage or end it. He wants to do something in between, but I don't think that's even possible or fair. His concern is the kids being traumatized, but he is literally the one breaking up the family. I'm trying to convince him to go to couples therapy. And maybe a weekend trip, the 2 of us, which we haven't done since having the kids. What else can I do? My heart aches. He wants to make a decision past the holidays, but I love him and I can't watch my marriage fall apart. All for the what ifs. Hun, your husband cheated. Literally by the time I got to the beginning of the 3rd paragraph, I knew there was another woman involved before even reading it. You are not at fault for your husband indiscretion. TBH, he's going to keep stringing you along because he wants to have his cake and eat it too. Dust yourself off and keep your dignity, let that man go. If he's not committed to you, then leave. You're still relatively young, don't settle for being someone's second fiddle. He wants both. He wants you to stick around and keep house, kids, etc. while he's off playing with his mistress. Don't do this. You'll be miserable. It hurts now, but after some time and therapy you'll be fine. So will the kids. Yes, adjustment will be necessary, but they will be so much better off with you happy than you miserable. I tried staying with my ex, somewhat similar but different situation. It is amazing how much happier they are now. There are still moments and the back and forth suck, but it's amazing how miserable they were and I didn't even realize it. Please leave? Don't wait around and waste time on him. He's not worth it. Good luck. Men can have everything in the world, yet they often still pursue what is new and exciting. The peace they experience is frequently mistaken for boredom. The woman with whom they grow comfortable is often taken for granted. Meanwhile, a woman they hear about once may suddenly seem like an incredible catch worth pursuing. Love is a choice. It's not going to feel like a honeymoon after years of being together. But it's a choice to stay committed in the relationship. He chose not to. He is having an emotional affair. You are not his person anymore. The problem is that Marie is also married, so if he divorces you, he won't have anyone to do his laundry. He wants to keep you around for practicality while having sex with Marie. He didn't fall out of love. He got bored and put his energy elsewhere. Texting his friends while putting your energy toward that relationship rather than your marriage is emotional cheating. Worried about my 29M engagement to my fiancé 33F because she seems embarrassed by my family? I 29M have been with my fiancé 33F for 3 years. We met while I was working in the US. We've been engaged for a few months. Wedding plans are for fall of next year. Our parents share the same cultural background. I have a brother, 31M, with Down syndrome. She has no siblings. I didn't talk too much about my family for the first year of our relationship. This was for no specific reason. They just weren't there. She knew my background though, and that my brother had Down syndrome. My fiancé comes from a lot of money, whereas my family and I are middle class. My parents run a restaurant in my country and my brother is employed by them. When I was younger, I used to do all the deliveries with my brother and he took over that job completely when I left for university. I love my brother, and when I talk about him, I don't focus on his disability. To me, he's just my brother. When I talk about him or recount a story from my past, I just tell it. It's not necessary to mention he is disabled every time. One of the things my fiancé has used against me in an argument is that I downplayed his disability because I talked about him so casually. She first met my family during year 2 of our relationship. She met my brother and he was nothing but gentlemanly towards her. He gave her a gift, bowed to her and refused to drop formal speech. His quirk was that he was overly respectful and made himself available in case she needed anything. This was just his way of being hospitable and I couldn't talk him out of relaxing. My fiancée didn't complain about anything to me or express she was uncomfortable. During her 3-week visit, there was probably only a handful of small occasions where my brother accompanied us. These were things like sharing a few meals and wandering around afterward because he wanted to be our guide. When I was younger, I could tell my brother something like, "Find me a quiet place where no one will bother me," and he would be able to take me to the perfect spot. You could get as specific as you want. This is one of his talents and I challenged my fiancée to describe somewhere she wanted to go so he could take us there. I remember her asking me if he could leave, after he took us to a place. I thought she just wanted to be alone with me. Now I feel like it was because she was embarrassed to have my brother there with us. Between that first visit and our engagement, there aren't any other interactions that I can think of. It makes me feel like her reaction has come on suddenly. I don't understand it. I'm confused. After we got engaged, I suggested we elope because I'm just that kind of person. I don't care about weddings. I have been teasing her from day one to just run away with me. She said she would like a proper wedding because she is an only child and her parents would like to see her get married. I told her if it's important to her, it's important to me. Our families met recently. Her parents met my brother for the first time. While we were taking photos, my fiancé's mom insisted on taking a lot of photos of just me with my fiancé's family and a few with my parents, excluding my brother from a lot of group photos. It wasn't apparent at first that this was happening until my dad approached me on the sidelines and whispered, "Does it feel like they don't want my brother in the photos?" I didn't want to acknowledge something like this was happening, so I told my dad that can't be true. I made a stupid joke about how it's probably because they want photos with their future son-in-law more and kept my focus on making sure everything went well that night. I thought it did. My fiancée and I went back to her place after this and nothing was wrong. We were in the middle of undressing and I said something like, "I can't wait for all of this wedding stuff to be over so I can have you to myself." She said something back like, "Me too. So I can have you to myself. And you won't have to deal with your brother." This spoiled the mood for me. I thought it was a strange thing to say, so I kind of reacted coldly. I asked her, "What does that mean?" She started caressing my face and hair and stuff, telling me she knows it must be hard. I probably feel very burdened about having a disabled sibling, but when I move to the US with her I can finally have a life of my own. This started an argument. I got a bit heated and mentioned him being excluded from photos. She didn't acknowledge it, but she didn't deny it either. She defended her mom and said she is probably just uncomfortable being around someone like that. I challenged her statement. She got upset and asked me to drop it and come to bed. I told her I'm leaving and I went to stay with my parents. I didn't have the heart to explain why I showed up, so I just put on a face and said I wanted to spend time with them. My fiancé and I have been distant for days. She's reached out a few times. I need time. It's just, there's something tugging at the back of my brain telling me that she and her family are embarrassed by my family. There's no clear sign, but the feeling is there after this recent interaction between our families and our argument. My friends think it's just cold feet because things are getting real. I don't think it's that. Edit to include the information below. I noticed it was being asked a lot in the comments. My parents and brother live in a country with a really negative view of people with disabilities. There are very few resources and the long-term care options for them are, well, I wouldn't call it care. I would never put my brother through that. My brother is quite independent. He could live alone. It's something we have been preparing him for. Long term, I would get him help to maintain the family business and he could make a living from that. Money was an issue in the past. My parents prioritized helping fund my education versus getting him his own place. I am now in a position where I can give back, so an apartment for him is something I've been looking into. This is not cold feet. You observed your fiancée and her family and saw the excluding your brother. Now that you've realized it, you're seeing her words and actions more clearly. As a person who married a man with an intellectually disabled brother, I will tell you not to marry her. She is an ugly person and her family are probably worse. You can do far better. That's a terrible thing to say about your brother. He didn't choose to have an extra chromosome. If their family can't respect your family, then you shouldn't merge them. No, it's not that. She's being ableist, and so is her family, and your brother doesn't fit into her idea of perfect family. She thinks your brother is a burden. This is something that I would consider a massive red flag, deal-breaker level. You love your brother, and you talk about him like he is a whole person, because he is. He just has Down syndrome. So what? What if one of your kids had a disability? Is she going to show favoritism to your non-disabled kids? Would she want to abort if she had a genetic anomaly? What do you think of that? Are you going to be isolated from your family by her? She's a bad person, that's what's bothering you. Her unkindness and rudeness about your brother is very concerning and a huge red flag. I would put any wedding on hold and say I love my brother, he is a part of my life. If you are embarrassed or ashamed to be seen with him, that is ableist and ignorant, and I cannot be with someone like that. Do not sweep this under the rug. You need further discussion, possibly with a therapist, if you really want to try and make it work with her. What if you have a child who has a disability? Only if she can admit her attitudes and actions were wrong and she will talk to her parents as well would I think about proceeding with a wedding. Damn, this hurts to read. Your brother sounds like an awesome dude and like he really wanted to make your partner feel relaxed and like part of the family. I know if I were in your position that this would probably tip me over the edge and force me to break up. My 23M girlfriend, 21F, likes male attention and ends with worse. Any advice how to move forward? My girlfriend, 21F, and I, 23M, have been together for over a year, and while I deeply care for her, I'm struggling with a pattern of risky situations she finds herself in. She was closing up at the store where she works when she met two drunk guys around her age. She felt a strong responsibility to help them get home safely, as she believes in doing for others what she'd hope someone would do for her. For context, we don't drink, but we occasionally get high, always making sure we're in a safe space or have a way to get home. While walking them home, one of the guys kept hitting on her, and the other repeatedly touched her despite her discomfort. It got to the point that a complete stranger, a young woman, ran up, took my girlfriend's hand, and asked if she was okay. Instead of taking this as a warning, my girlfriend reassured the stranger that she had it under control, and continued escorting them home. She then chose to stay with them for a UFC watch party, with people she didn't know, until late in the night. This isn't the first time she's ended up in situations where her safety, or our relationship boundaries, are at risk. A few examples. 1. She once invited her male best friend for a sleepover, despite my expressing discomfort because I felt he had feelings for her. That night, he ended up molesting her while she slept. I was devastated for her and didn't leave her at that time, as she was emotionally shattered. 2. She had consistent study sessions with another guy who, in my view, was clearly interested in her. She brushed off my concerns as paranoia, only to end up in his room, where he tried to kiss her and wouldn't stop hugging her tightly. Now when I make her realize her lack of judgment, she acknowledges that what she did was wrong and does indeed apologizes, but then she finds herself into something similar. Also this time the excuse he had was she is having poor impulse control. I know her intentions aren't to cheat, but her repeated poor judgment and insistence on ignoring these clear boundaries are taking a toll on me emotionally. It's hard for me to watch her put herself in harm's way or engage with people who blatantly cross lines, and it makes me feel disrespected in our relationship. I'm genuinely at a loss. She is so intelligent in most areas, yet repeatedly makes questionable choices in social situations that disregard her safety and our relationship boundaries. It's frustrating to see someone so perceptive miss the obvious risks, leaving me feeling dismissed and, at times, emasculated, as though my concerns don't matter. Allowing poor impulse control to be brushed aside feels damaging to our relationship's foundation. Her choices, like ignoring warnings to walk away or staying at strangers' houses, leave me feeling disrespected and unsettled. Any advice or perspective is appreciated. Also, I'd appreciate your perspective on her decision to walk them home because they were shit drunk. You are being conned. There's no way she's accidentally doing all these things. Like Mr. Magoo stumbling around here unaware and everything just works out to look bad. No way. You are absolutely being gaslit. Hugging session at the end of a study session in the guy's bedroom? Really? No. What was the subject? Biology or sex ed? Her going over to two guys' houses and staying overnight at a watch party? No way. Watch her cheat on you, my dude. You think you know someone, but people lie very believably. Either she is really fucking stupid, in which case do you really want to spend the rest of your life as a babysitter? Or she's cheating on you. Both of which, if you have any self-respect, should end in a breakup. UFC watch party? Skull. Honestly, I think she's lying to you in some way. Part of me feels like she's telling you that these men are coming onto her so you'll stay through her acts of cheating. She wants you and wants other men. I'm so sorry. I know her intentions aren't to cheat. Jesus LMAO. I feel so pitiful for you, buddy. When will you learn? It makes me feel disrespected in our relationship. Damn, who'd have thought? Well, if you keep wanting to justify her behaviors, then good luck to you, mate. Switch the situation around, dude. If you were in her shoes, would you understand that the situation you were in, about to get into was sketch AF? Do I, M22, break up with my girlfriend, F21, now if we're going to break up in a few months? My girlfriend recently told me that she doesn't want kids in the future. Right now, I don't really care because I'm not dating her for kids at the moment. However, I know that in the future, I will want kids, and if she still doesn't want them, I won't be able to stay with her. She's also applying to schools in a different state and has said she doesn't want to do long distance if she knows we aren't going to get married and be together long term. Because of this, she wants to break up when she leaves for school. Given that we might break up in a few months anyway, should we just break up now? I'm really torn about what to do and would appreciate any advice. Yeah, just do it now. You're 22. You will not end up marrying and having children with this girl or the next one. I know everything seems big and serious right now, but you're just a kid. I would say do it now. My brother-in-law dated someone for many years knowing she didn't want kids, and ultimately after years of being together they did break up because of that, and it's something he did want down the road. After they broke up, he met someone else, got married, and had 2 amazing kids. Do you two still want to continue spending time together? Perhaps continuing to date knowing that it's temporary can relieve you both of the stress of expecting to be perfect. You can both relax knowing that it won't get serious. Will prolonging the relationship make it harder for you? Have you accepted your relationship's fate? Do you plan to remain friends when she leaves? Rip the band-aid off, my friend. It will hurt less in the long run.